Hello everyone! In today's video, I will be talking about how I managed to attend college without paying any tuition fees, and I will share some tips and steps on how you can have your tuition covered. I decided to make this video specifically because the upcoming academic school year is just around the corner for some, and pursuing higher education might be viewed as difficult due to multiple factors, such as limited access of taking the SATs and advanced placement courses, and socioeconomic factors like finances. And I can attest to that because I've been in that situation before. So my backstory of whether or not I could afford college actually dates back to my high school years when I entered high school in 2012 as a freshman and graduated as a senior in 2016. Yes, I am that old. During this time, I had a roller coaster of mixed emotions of whether or not to pursue higher education, and eventually I decided to pursue it. I did the typical route. It involved in school curriculars and took the SATs, but before taking the SATs, I took the PSAT, which is what I took during my junior year. And the SATs is what many universities at the time considered during the admissions process. And when I got my score back, I did terrible. However, I didn't give up. Towards the end of my senior year, I took a trip to my local community college, and just like everyone else, I viewed the community college in a negative light. But when I got there, the advisors were super helpful and very nice, and they helped me enroll just like that, and I was set. In 2016, I graduated from high school and I was ready to attend college in the fall. However, there's just one problem. I didn't know how I could pay my tuition, and college, whether it be a 2-year like community college or a 4-year like UCLA, they're still expensive. My mom asked a family friend or two who's been in the situation as me, and they told us some good news. At the time, I was considered a dependent because my father was an Army vet. Growing up, I knew I reaped some of the benefits as a dependent, such as military discounts. I remember 2 years ago, I bought discounted tickets for Not Scary Farm for me and my friends through my mom. My mom does reap those benefits, and I remember showing my military ID at the movies and getting a discount as well. After knowing this, my college education from community college to UC Irvine, my college was practically paid for. This is what I was referring to at the beginning of the video. Because I was a dependent, I received benefits that helped me pay for my school, and I am here to explain how you can too. So what I'm about to say isn't official steps, but rather something I've learned through personal experience from the 5 years of attending college, and these are some things you might want to consider. The first step is simple and straightforward. You must be the child of the military veteran or active duty service member. You can be biologically related to them, or you can be adopted or be the stepchild of that service member. And there's additional information online regarding the adopted child and stepchild of a veteran. And before I continue on, yes, spouses can qualify as well. Before I explain the second step, it is only applied to California residents. So if you're not a California resident, you can just skip to the third step. Second step is that if you live in California, you can apply for the CalVet fee waiver. What it is essentially is that it waives your tuition at a California community college, a California State University, or a University of California campus. You have to apply for this waiver for every academic school year. It's not just a one-time thing. I learned that the hard way. You can apply this before school starts during the summer, or you can apply it during the middle of the school year. I mentioned the second one for a very obvious reason because I did this twice. The first time was when I was gaining readmittance to UC Irvine to complete my college education, and I did this for my mom as she was transferring from Park University, which is a private school, to Cal State Chico, which is a public school. For dependents specifically to qualify, they have to be at least 14 years old, but be under the age of 27. But if that child is a veteran, that age limit can extend by 3 more years, so the age of 30. You usually apply for this waiver at your local county or nearest county's Veteran Service Office. The form usually looks like this, and it is updated every once in a while. Besides knowing your personal and school information, here are some factors you need to know when filling out this form. Your personal social security number, the veteran's social security number or VA claim number. In my case, it was the same number. Their date of service of when they started and when it ended, the latter being if they retired. Their percentage of service-connected disability that is adjudicated by the military or the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. Their date of birth, obviously, and the date of death. if the veteran or service duty active member passed away. If you're applying this waiver as a dependent who doesn't have a job, you need to submit an IRS verification letter. And on the adjusted gross income, or AGI, on the form I showed earlier, you will fill in 0. However, if you do have a job, you do need to write your AGI from last year, from January 1st to December 31st, and that is easily located on your taxes. Always ask the clerk at your county or nearest county's Veteran Service Office about the AGI max limit. Unfortunately, this waiver does not apply towards private institutions like Stanford or USC, but they're not bad schools. I'll mention some benefits of those schools later on. But I can't mention every aspect of this waiver verbatim, but I will list important links up to certain websites in the description bar below. The third step is applying for the GI Bill, and what that is that it helps you pay for college, graduate school, and training programs. And just like the waiver, you do have to apply it every school year and make sure you apply for it on time. Unlike the waiver, you can apply it online or you can print it out and mail it to them. It's better if you do it online because it's faster. But if you do mail it, there are two locations you can send it, and it depends on where you live. If you live, let's just say in California, you'll send it to Muskogee, Oklahoma. But if you live as north as Maine, you send it to Buffalo, New York. But there's one specific benefit that is applied towards survivors and dependents, and that is called the Dependents Educational Assistance DEA program, or better known as Chapter 35. Now, the pay rate for Chapter 35 depends on the amount of course load you are taking. The max is 12, but you can go higher. 12 units is considered full time, but depending on the school you attend, the course load could vary. Some schools offer as low as 1 unit classes and some offer as high as 5 units, and I've heard 5 unit classes are notoriously difficult. For example, you're considered full time if you're taking 3 classes that are 4 units each, or 4 classes that are 3 units each, which is what I did for UC Irvine and community college respectively. So if you're a full-time student, you get the maximum payment of $1,401 for every full month. Not bad, but it gets lower depending on your enrollment. So if you're enrolled for 3/4, you get $1,107 for every full month. If you're enrolled for 1/2 of the time, you get $812. But if you're enrolled for less than 1/2, they pay up the amount listed for every month. Now, after listing some important steps that I think are very important, here are some tips I highly recommend you would follow. Along with applying for Chapter 35, apply for FAFSA. Yes, this is very important because financial aid is considered an additional source of income. It could be used towards paying rent and utilities and other basic necessities, but it could be used towards covering tuition that the waiver didn't cover. I mentioned the second reason because my mother is currently attending Cal State Chico online, and I help her in regards with her tuition, like financial advice, like do this, don't do that, take this class, don't take this class. They told her over the phone that the Cal Vet fee waiver did cover most of her tuition, but she needed to accept certain financial aid packages to cover the remaining tuition, which is around $3,000 that the Cal Vet fee waiver didn't cover. As you apply for Chapter 35, consider applying for work study. They will ask you this when you apply for these benefits. This is the one thing I regret not doing because A, I was unsure, and B, my mom told me not to. This is a great way to get an additional source of income while you're attending college or vocational school, etc. But if you do consider work study, always talk to your VA advisor on campus. Third tip, do not apply for student loans. It does sound nice on paper that you have another source of income, but eventually you do have to pay it back, and I do not want y'all to be in debt. There is this 6 months post-grad where you don't have to pay your loans, but you do have to pay them back eventually. As you guys know, the pause extension on student loans has just ended a while ago. Interest will start resuming in the beginning of September, and payments will resume in October of this year. Unfortunately, I did apply for student loans because I forgot to apply for Chapter 35 because I didn't know how it would work at a UC. I only did it for 1/4 of my school year, and I only have to pay back $7,000 or $9,000. It's low, but it's still a lot, and I don't want people to be in the same predicament as I am, paying loans afterwards. As a dependent, you do want to graduate debt-free. Don't exclude private institutions just because of the waiver. These places are a great place to get a good education. Earlier, I mentioned that Stanford and USC are private institutions that don't accept the CalVet fee waiver. However, they do offer other VA benefits. For example, I know that Stanford University not only accepts Chapter 35, but Chapter 33 as well, the latter being known as the post 9/11 GI Bill. And if you do qualify for Chapter 33, you can be eligible for the Yellow Ribbon Program, which is an additional source of income. Lastly, consider attending a community college. It is not as bad as people assume. There are tons of reasons why people attend community colleges. By attending a 2-year community college and possibly transferring over to a 4-year college, you do save yourself a lot of money, and it's very financially responsible. When I transferred from community college to UC Irvine, no one cared that I was a community college student. In fact, they thought it was a really good financial move that I did community college and then transferred over to UC Irvine. You're on a different path than everyone else. You're all there to get one thing, a good quality education. As I was attending UC Irvine, I met a lot of kids in some of my classes. Most of it was from Psych and CABA, and most of them were transfer students, and I'm friends with them to this very day. So that is it. I explained my backstory of how I wanted to pay for college. I listed some steps that I thought were important, some good tips that I considered for dependents and spouses of active duty service members and veterans who are considering of attending college. I only mentioned some of the basics, which is a combination of personal experience and research. Also, I can't mention everything in detail or else this video would be twice as long, but I will list important links in the description bar below as I mentioned earlier. That is it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!